Today we're going to tie a moose hair crawfish or crayfish, and if you look at it here, it's use of basically four materials. We're going to have some lead-free wire, we're going to have some orange hackle feathers, and we're going to be using some moose hair. And the one oddball item we're going to be using is a cloth braid wire, I don't know what it is, flower stamen that we're going to paint the tips black and use those for eyes. So let's get started. I'm going to start this fly by using a 1/0 hook with a downturned eye. You can use almost any size hook you want, so long as your hair is long enough to cover it, because we will be folding it back. So we're going to start by doing about 10 or 12 wraps of lead-free wire. And so what I'm going to do is wrap it once, and then I'm going to go back over and cover that again with lead right over the top. And secure that. Just want to bunch it to make sure it's tight. Next, I'm going to take just a drop of super glue right at the bend of the hook. And I'm going to push this wire back. And it's okay if the wire goes down around the bend a little bit, but it doesn't have to. So next, I'm going to be using some UTC 140 thread. This is brown, and I'm going to just cover up this lead. And you'll notice I'm taking kind of a big X wraps around the lead, creating some thread barriers there, so when I start to tighten it down, it doesn't spread the lead wire apart. And I don't need to cover all of the lead. I just want to secure it enough to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to advance my thread to about the point of the hook, and next I'm going to take these flower stamens from the craft store that are dipped in black paint. I'm going to fold them in half, and I want to set it on top of the hook, but I want the eyes, the end parts, to stick past the bend. I'm just going to do a light wrap right there just to kind of hold it in place, position them how I want. And I want the strings to be on each side of the hook. I don't want them riding top or bottom. And we're going to just pinch it top and bottom of the hook like this so I can keep the strings on the sides. And I'm not doing very tight wraps, this is pretty loose. And now this bent end I'm going to pick up and snip off so I can again push that to each side using my thumb for bracing. I'm just going to make sure those are tacked in good, and I'm going to advance my thread up to about the barb of the hook again, really securing those in place. Next, I'm going to take fairly big size of moose hair. I always talk about pencil diameter. It's about what I'm going to use, but we won't be using it all, and I'll show you why in a second. So after we come in and clean short fibers out this way and everything is about in line, we're going to put these tip side down into a hair stacker. And then we're going to stack these a little bit. pull them out, you'll see the tips are all nice and lined up. I'm going to grab them tight, but now when I pull this, you'll see I have a lot of really short hairs in there, and those are going to be too short for us to use. So we're going to come back, measuring our hair. I'm going to grab about, last 3/4 to inch and pull out this short stuff, because this is going to be too short for what we need. So again, I'm pinching tight with my right hand, gently stroking out any of the short fibers. So now our bundle is considerably shorter, but we have enough length here to do what we need. So I'm going to transfer it over, and I'm going to measure, because this is going to be the front of the fly, but we need to tie the material in and fold it back. So what I want to do is pinching this, setting my finger at the eye. I want to ensure I have enough room sticking up. So seeing how much I have left over, I'm going to just advance this up, tying it down the tip, so I'm about halfway or a little over, and I'm just going to loosely wrap those. I just want it on the top of the hook, and I'm going to secure it down from our tie-in point at about the barb all the way back, kind of making this tapered body. And I just want to give a few good wraps. And now you'll see we have plenty of hair here, so when we fold back it'll be plenty long. So the next thing we're going to do is tie in a couple of these feathers, and I'm using orange so you can really see them. So we're going to do 2 of these, and these are going to represent the claws. And I want to use the thick part for the claw, not just the skinny part like this, because we'd have small claws. So I'm going to be coming up here, really tying almost at the end, and I want to tie them at about a 45-degree angle to the hook, right up behind where these eyes are. So I'm going to just get them like that, and to ensure we keep our angle, I'm going to pick the feather up and go around behind it and pull down, and that'll get it to kick off to the side a little bit. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing with the other feather, making sure I'm staying right in that one spot. And then I'm going to come up around it again, pull back, and that way we get this nice X pattern on the top of the hook. Now I'm going to trim these tag ends slightly, because I don't want to have a lot of material up by the eye of the hook. Trim off some of the longer fibers. And I also want to get this bound down, so I'm going to push these tag ends down with my finger and wrap over it like this, so I don't lose that spread on them. And I'm just going to really bind those down and advance my thread to right up where I tied them in again. Right now we're at about the point of the hook. So we're going to take a third feather, and we're just going to tie that in by the tip, and this is going to look like our small legs. And then I'm going to just stroke the feather back, making the long fibers, and we're not going to use the whole feather. So that's 2, 3, 4. So I've got about 6 wraps on there, and this is plenty long right now. I don't want to come too far back, but what I need to do is capture that and tie it off, and trim this. And I can get rid of these longer hairs back here. So just clean this up a little bit. Bring my thread to directly behind those feathers, and I want to push this down on the top, kind of spreading the feathers because we want them off to the sides. And now here's where the interesting part comes in. We're going to take this bundle of hair and roughly take 1/3 of it from the top side, and we're going to bring it back over the top. And you'll see when I do that how it pushes those shorter feather fibers out of the way. And I'm just going to loosely attach this down with 3 little wraps, just enough to hold it. And it should go back if you don't pull too tight, because otherwise it's going to spray all over. Next, we need to look at this bundle and split it in half, minus 2 hairs. And we have the 2 hairs for doing the antenna. So I'm going to take the right half, and you'll see the eye in there right here. I want to go under the eye and on the side of the hook, and I'll show you on the other side here what I mean. And again, I'm just going to pull it straight back and do 3 little capture loops, except for I got my legs in there. Okay. Now, this is where we need at least 2 feathers or 2 hairs going forward to act as antenna. So I'll take this last bunch and I'm going to take out like 2 longer ones, tease those. Hopefully they're more towards the middle to make this easier. And if you get more than 2, that's fine, because these will break off pretty easy. Let's see if I can show here. So on the underside of the hook, you'll see this eye. I'm going to pick it up out of the way, bring the hair down alongside the eye, but on my side of the hook again, and I'm going to just pull it straight back. Now we're looking at the underside of the hook. I'm going to just pull it straight back and do 3 little capture loops, just to hold that in place. So now we have our 2 antennae here. We've got the eyes and all the feathers. Now, taking this bunch of deer or moose hair, I'm going to grab it all in one hand, pulling backwards slightly and then up so I can expose the eye of the hook. And then I'm going to just do 1 big long loop here, switching hands to try to get a slight segment. Now I'm not pulling hard on the thread because I don't want it to splay out yet. Then I'm going to do that same thing, and I should be right behind the eye. Okay, so I got about 3 body segments there. We can adjust more as later, but you'll see my hair is still pretty straight. So what I'm going to do is pull it straight out, and then while pulling it straight, I want to see where my eye is, and I want to just cut it to make a tail. And by pulling it straight, when I go to tighten this down, you'll see how it flares and makes a nice looking tail. And I can come in here with my finger and thumb and squish it flat so it will remain flatter. Now if you want it to be more down, you can just bend it a little bit. And then I'm going to just whip finish this right behind that tail. And looks like I caught a hair. Just get that out of the way. There. Now the last thing we're going to do is make our claws. So we're going to want to decide how long we want these claws, and we're going to just stroke back the fibers so we can expose just the core of that feather. And all we're going to do is come in with our little scissor and nip that core. So now when we strike them, and now when we straighten the fibers back out, we have a little claw shape at the end. And we just simply repeat for the second one. And we're going to touch it up. Here's a great example of bottom hairs sticking out where we may not want them. If this bugs you, we can always just trim those. This will be the top of the fly since it runs upside down. So that's how it will run in the water. And we just want to make any last adjustments to our tail. And we're going to coat the whole thing in head cement, the whole back end. This ensures that the threads don't come undone. And any errant little hair fibers. Now, if you want, you can also paint the tail with the head cement and it'll set up and be hard. If you want it flatter, you can just push it with your finger as it dries. Like that. And there we have it. We have a moose hair crayfish that would ride in the water upside down like this. So, good luck.